So today is October 18th, and these are the October 18th holy days. In 2007, on October 18th, after 8 years of being in exile, you had Benazir Bhutto returning to Pakistan. Over 100 people are killed, and 20 cops. I just mentioned 20 cops, so over 100 people are killed, 20 cops are killed. Why would somebody returning to their home country inspire 100 people getting killed, including 20 police officers? That's incredible. That happened in 2007. Benazir Bhutto. In 1787, you had the Anti-Federalist Brutus, #1. He writes his famous critique on the U.S. Constitution. An Anti-Federalist. Brutus, #1, writes his famous critique. 1962, Watson, Crick, and Wilkins win the Nobel Peace Prize, or the Nobel Prize for their structure of DNA work. So they did some DNA. 1962, October 18th. 1967, October 18th, the Soviet Venera 4 becomes the first probe to send data back from Venus. That was the Soviet Venera 4. 1921, October 18th, Soviet Russia agrees to the independence for the Crimea. 1921, October 18th, Soviet Russia agrees to the independence for the Crimea. Soviet Russia says independence for Crimea, but today's fucking Russia says no, that's theirs. 1952, the first Mad magazine issue says, what is it? It's Mervyn. 1267 battle at Marienholz. Henry III, Otto II van Gelre defeat Kuhl's Archbishop Engelbert III. So Engelbert III is going to go down at the Battle of Marienholz, October 18th, 1267. In the U.S. Civil War, you had the Battle of Charleston, West Virginia, 1863. 1961, West Side Story is released. The movie West Side Story, which is Hollywood's rendition of Romeo and Juliet. 1944, Eisenhower, Omar Bradley, and Bernard Montgomery confer in Brussels, Belgium. They just got together and they had a conversation. Now, Omar Bradley, he's the one that wrote that famous book, right? Omar Bradley book. I thought he wrote the book something about something, a general's life. I'm not for sure, but it's, you know, it's motherfucking, it's World War II. It's World War II. Who is that guy that said war is a racket? I was thinking that is. War is a racket. That's by Smedley Butler. Okay, so that's a different Butler. Omar Bradley. Alright, whatever. Eisenhower. Okay, maybe that's not as significant. So let's talk about each one of these things. Benazir Bhutto returns to Pakistan. That's incredible. The dictator, the prime minister at the time, had saw Benazir Bhutto as being a threat to his totalitarian regime. She was all about freedom and peace and democracy. And she said, you know, watch out. If I go back, then I might not come back. You know, if I go back to my home country in Pakistan, then I might not return. And she did not return. She got, well, she's going to get assassinated eventually. But, and she also said that if something happens, it's Musharraf. Right? Wasn't that the guy's name? Musharraf? Pakistan. Musharraf. And so that's interesting, is it not? Musharraf, I mean, where was Bin Laden? Bin Laden was found in Pakistan. Pervez Musharraf. Pervez Musharraf actually died last year, February 5th, 2023. And this had happened in 2007. So he was in office for another year. And then he's going to get succeeded by Mohammed Mian Sumro, and he's still the prime minister today, or president. So that would be the 11th president. Pervez Musharraf was the 10th president, and he was covering up for Bin Laden. Benazir Bhutto was all about democracy. She shows up, 100 people are killed, including 20 cops. Now, Anti-Federalist Brutus, #1, writes his famous critique on the U.S. Constitution. And what was that critique? Right offhand, I'm not for sure, but let's take a look. Let's see if we got it in this Anti-Federalist book here. So Brutus number 1. So October 18th, 281. So let's go check out 281. And we'll read a couple passages, just see if we can get an idea of what the hell this Brutus number 1 is talking about. He writes to the citizens of the state of New York. October 18th, 1787. When the public is called to investigate and decide upon a question in which not only the present members of the community are deeply interested, but upon which the happiness and misery of generations yet unborn is in great measure suspended, the benevolent mind cannot help feeling itself peculiarly interested in the result. In this situation, I trust the feeble efforts of an individual to lead the minds of the people to a wise and prudent determination cannot fail of being acceptable to the candid and dispassionate part of the community. I underlined a couple things over here. There's something about a tyrannic aristocracy. This government is to possess absolute and uncontrollable power, legislative, executive, and judicial, with respect to every object to which it extends. For by the last clause of Section 8, Article 1st, it is declared that the Congress shall have power to make all laws which shall be necessary and proper for carrying into execution the foregoing powers and all other powers vested by this Constitution in the government of the United States, or in any department or office thereof. That's the necessary and proper clause, and that is pretty sweeping. So we have these specific powers, and also we get to pass whatever laws that are necessary and proper in order to get those powers in action. By the 6th article, it is declared that this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and the treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States, shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or law of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. It appears from these articles that there is no need for any intervention of the state governments between the Congress and the people to execute any one power vested in the general government, and that the Constitution and laws of every state are nullified and declared void, so far as they are or shall be inconsistent with this Constitution or the laws made in pursuance of it, or with treaties made under the authority of the United States. The government then, so far as it extends, is a complete one, and not a confederation. It is as much one complete government as that of New York or Massachusetts has an absolute and perfect powers to make and execute all laws, to appoint officers, institute courts, declare offenses, and annex penalties with respect to every object to which it extends, as any other in the world. So far, therefore, as its powers reach, all ideas of confederation are given up and lost. It is true this government is limited to certain objects, or to speak more properly, some small degree of power is still left to the states, but a little attention to the powers vested in the general government will convince every candid man that if it is capable of being executed, all that is reserved for the individual states must very soon be annihilated, except so far as they are barely necessary to the organization of the general government. The powers of the general legislature extend to every case that is of the least importance. There is nothing valuable to human nature, nothing dear to free men, but what is within its power. It has authority to make laws which will affect the lives, liberty, and property of every man in the U.S., nor can the Constitution or laws of any state in any way prevent or impede the full and complete execution of every power given. The legislative power is competent to lay taxes, duties, imposts, excises. There is no limitation to this power unless it be said that the clause which directs the use to which those taxes and duties shall be applied may be said to be a limitation, but this is no restriction of the power at all, for by this clause they are to be applied to pay the debts and provide for the common defense and general welfare of the United States. But the legislature have authority to contract debts at their discretion. All right, so on and on and on. Now, by the 6th article, it says, is that the supremacy clause? Is that the 6th article? So it's basically saying that the U.S. Constitution is going to take over America. It's Article 6, Clause 2, 1, yes. So overview of the supremacy clause. this Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby, anything in the Constitution or laws of any state to the contrary notwithstanding. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. So the judges are supposed to be bound by the U.S. Constitution? No way. So that means that grand jury indictment thing is actually in the U.S. Constitution and the states are supposed to abide by it? It's the supreme law of the land. So the U.S. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. Now you got the 11th Amendment, which abridges it, but then you have the 14th Amendment, which brings it back again. And then if anybody questions the grand jury indictment, well, all you got to do is get a government authority plus the people, and the grand jury prevails. The grand jury prevails. So that's just some Brutus, right? Brutus is paying attention, and look how much they were paying attention to the Constitution. This is a guy that opposes the Constitution, and he is being specific and precise. It still rings true today. The DNA work of Watson, Crick, and Wilkins, is that when DNA came out in 1962? I'm not for sure. Soviet Venera 4 becomes the first probe to send data back from Venus. So we didn't know shit about Venus until Soviet Russia. October 18th, 1967. Soviet Russia agrees to the independence for the Crimea. That's amazing, 1921. So for over 100 years, the Crimea was independent until fucking Putin. First Mad magazine is going to come out in 1952, October 18th. What is it? It's Mervyn. I think I have a Mad magazine somewhere around here. Mad magazine. It's a little comedy, right? You have Alfred E. Newman. And what does Alfred E. Newman say? Well, he says a lot of things. Here's Super-Sized Mad. So he's still just cutting up, huh? Good old Alfred E. Newman. Mad's biggest super special ever. Super-Sized Mad, 128 thick and meaty pages. Will Smith is the stale prince. Al Jaffe gets gross. Summer camp stupidity. Al Jaffe. Is this Al Jaffe? I thought I had like a little Al Jaffe book somewhere. Yeah, right here. Look at that. Al Jaffe bombs again. Is that from Mad Magazine, or is Al Jaffe like its own thing and it came back? So Al Jaffe had some funny stuff. Godzilla goofiness, summer camp stupidity, MacGyver, a cult TV favorite, a summer's worth of reading, the violence of the hams. Well, that's a play on Violence of the Lambs, now isn't it? So we got some jokes about Blondie, the cartoon. We're making fun of Silence of the Lambs. I don't know what it says. I'll check it out later in order to celebrate. Al Jaffe bombs again. Let's just take a look at this one right here. Watch is repaired. He's looking at it real close. And there seems to be a wrench. There's a wrench right in the middle of the damn thing. He's looking at the watch, and there's a wrench, a tiny little wrench. He wants to know what we think would go best, red or white wine, right? So on Cannibal Island, they're asking the ones being cooked, do you think you would go best with red or white wine? So a little taste of Mad Magazine. I appreciate humor. Battle at Marion Holes. I actually don't know about this one. Apparently I took a look at this one and I thought that it was a good thing. Some of these battles, because when you're looking through history, you'll see the battles, but you won't know if it's a good thing or not, because it's like between two people that you're like, who? What? What is this about? I don't know what this is even about. Henry III, Otto II. Who are these people? Why are we talking about these people? Henry III, Otto II. Is Engelbert a bad guy? Who is Engelbert III? Engelbert III, and then Henry III. Is he a good guy? Is this the England? Henry III? 1267 AD, so this is English history. Kuhl's Archbishop. So when I think about the Archbishop, this is the Holy Roman Empire. Henry III of England would have been alive at this time. He's going to die 5 years later, so maybe it mentions something here in Wikipedia. Engelbert III, the Count of Gorizia. He died in 1220. No, it's got to be a different. In the Margrave. the Margrave of Istria. He's going to die 1173. That's not it either. Keuls. Maybe we got to type in the Keuls Archbishop. And it's Keuls Archbishop. All this sounds Greek to me, so I have no idea. Engelbert III of the Mark. Okay? Engelbert III of the Mark. It's saying that he was born 1304. So that is still not the same guy. Engelbert II of Berg. He dies 1225. Which fucking Engelbert is this motherfucker? Here's something else. It says 1267 at the Battle of Marienholz. It says the same thing about you had Archbishop Engelbert III. That was, I don't know who it is. Henry III of England. Are we going to have the Battle of Marienholz? No. Maybe we'll see something in the dates. 1267. What the hell was this Henry III of England doing? So that's very English-centric. Oh, all hell, Henry III. And Otto II van Gelre. Who is Otto van Gelre II? And who in the hell is Henry III? I know that you have a bunch of common law, and there is Henry I, Henry II, Henry III, and then they were all William the Conqueror's progeny. So William the Conqueror was actually Norway, right? He was Normandy. So the Norman invasion. Henry is part of the Norman invasion, which helped England out a lot. The Romans had taken over England for a bit. Who was that? Was that Claudius? I think Claudius took over England. What's going on up there? See, Henry may have taken up the practice of curing sufferers of scrofula, often called the king's evil, by touching them, possibly emulating Louis, who also took up the practice. Scrofula. And it sounds like he's got scrofula. The disease, mycobacterial cervical lymphadenitis, also known as scrofula, historically as king's evil, involves a lymphadenitis of the cervical neck lymph nodes associated with tuberculosis, as well as non-tuberculosis atypical mycobacteria. So clearly he doesn't understand bacteria. Well, I'll just touch with my incredible healing hands there. Now you have no bacteria. Did you wash your hands with antibacterial? Did you have rubbing alcohol on your hands? How were you able to just maybe plain alcohol? Did you even wash your damn hands? You nasty. Okay, so let's see. 1267. What are we doing in 1267? 1267. Personal rule was from 1234 to 1258. What? Okay, the later years. Here we go. So Henry faced a revolt among the English barons in 1258 AD. Anger had grown about the way the king's officials were raising funds, the influence of the Poitevins at court, and his unpopular Sicilian policy and resentment of abuse of purchased Jewish loans. Even the English church had grievances over its treatment by the king. The Welsh were still in open revolt, now allied themselves with Scotland. Henry III was also critically short of money. Although he still had some reserves of gold and silver, they were totally insufficient to cover his potential expenditures, including the campaign for Sicily and his debts to the papacy. Critics suggested darkly that he had never really intended to join the Crusades. All right, where are we at here? 1267. Where is 1267 at? There was something about a Jewish policy, so we can check that out here in a second. 1264, 1267. Not July. The end of the war. What war? We got something else. Simon's corpse was mutilated by the victors. Edward was triumphant. Henry, who was wearing borrowed armor, was almost killed by Edward's forces. Goodness gracious. Rebels gathering at Kenilworth Castle. But this is afterwards. So here we got November 1267, September 1267. So we got before and after. So let's read this paragraph together. Reconciliation and Reconstruction. Henry III quickly took revenge on his enemies after the Battle of Evesham. He immediately ordered the sequestration of all the rebel lands, triggering a wave of chaotic looting across the country. Henry III initially rejected any calls for moderation. But in October 1266, he was persuaded by papal legate Otto Buono de Fieschi to issue a less draconian policy called the Dictum of Kenilworth, which allowed for the return of the rebels' lands in exchange for the payment of harsh fines. The Statute of Marlborough followed in November 1267, which effectively reissued much of the provisions of Westminster, placing limitations on the powers of local royal officials and the major barons, but without restricting central royal authority. Most of the exiled Poitevins began to return to England after the war. Poitevins. What is a Poitevin? The damn Poitevins. Poitevin. Poitevin. So there's a Poitevin dialect. France. Is that what you're saying? A breed of goat from western France, a breed of hound from or related to Poitou or Poiters, a province of west central France. Weird. So basically you got a small tribe from France from or related to the town of Poitiers. So this is also west central France. Okay, so the French were trying to take over the English, and they didn't have Joan of Arc, right? No Joan of Arc, because I like Joan of Arc. I wish I had more information about the Battle of Marienholz. How come there's no Battle of Marienholz anywhere on the internet? Battle of Marienholz, Battle of Marienholz. Just on this day in history, they'll just say the single sentence. There's something here in, what is this? Spanglish? Looks like Latin or Adolf de Waldstadt Gebieten Nidegen. 1267, October 18th. I wonder if that's going to say, it seems like it's, looks like German. So, I don't know what the hell happened at all. Poitevin, if it's German, I thought it was France. Let's keep reading, maybe we'll find out. Most of the exiled Poitevins began to return to England after the war. In September 1267, Henry made the Treaty of Montgomery with Llywelyn, Llywelyn, recognizing him as the Prince of Wales and giving him substantial land concessions. So that seems nice, right? They're kind of making up. In the final years of his reign, Henry was increasingly infirm and focused on securing peace within the kingdom and his own religious devotions. Something, 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 something. And then he's going to die in a couple years after this, so he doesn't survive past, just a couple years after this Battle of Marienholz. The Battle of Marienholz, the Treaty of Montgomery, was an Anglo-Welsh treaty signed September 29th, 1267. So this damn battle's going to happen after the treaty was signed? You'd like to think it wasn't with Llywelyn ap Gruffudd. I hope it wasn't against this Gruffud. It's the only time an English ruler recognized the right of a ruler of Gwynedd over Wales. Llywelyn, grandfather Llywelyn the Great had previously laid claim to be the effective Prince of Wales by using the title Prince of Aberfraw, Lord of Snow. Man, I want to get to the Civil War, Battle of Charleston, and mention something about West Side Story, and then see if this Eisenhower meeting is worth even talking about. So, whole bunch of stuff about the treaty and this person and that daffodil ap Llewellyn. He's gonna get fucking killed, isn't he? Isn't he gonna get like drawn and quartered? I thought he got drawn and quartered. I don't know. I've seen a name that seems similar to it. So, okay. So, we're the English and the Welsh, which is the same damn island, but we're going to be friends. And after we were friends, then we went to war against somebody else. Why is there no Battle of Marienholz? Significance? Should I type in significance? Will that help? I don't think that'll help. Full text of memoirs. Oh, I I'll have to come back to you. But let's celebrate it for now, presuming it's a good thing. So, yes! We won! Henry III and Otto II Van Gelre defeated that Cool's Archbishop, Engelbert III. He ain't too cool now is he? Battle of Charleston. Let's get to the Battle of Charleston. What happened at the Battle of Charleston? This is a Civil War battle, West Virginia, 1863. The Siege of Charleston was also known as the Second Battle of Charleston Harbor, was a military campaign during the American Civil War that began in August 1863 and lasted until February 17th, 1865. So that went on a while. How come I have October 18th? What does October 18th have to do with anything? So the Siege of Charleston, okay, on October 18th, 1863, the Battle of Charleston was a small engagement between Union and Confederate forces in Charlestown, West Virginia. Now, West Virginia had separated from Virginia after Virginia went Confederate, and then they seceded. There was 3 states. What was it? Kansas, Nevada, and West Virginia that was created during the Civil War. So West Virginia, I kind of think of West Virginia as sort of being like a bunch of backwards, bumpkins, but the origin story of West Virginia is amazing. They were like, fuck Virginia, we're going to do our own Union campaign, we're going to fight for America. And so West Virginia became a brand new state because it seceded during the Civil War. The battle was part of the Bristow and Mine Run campaigns and resulted in a Confederate victory. What the fuck? I just wrote it down thinking that maybe we had won. The Union forces were led by Colonel Benjamin L. Simpson, while the Confederate forces were led by Brigadier General John D. Ibboden. And so what? So what? Battle of Charleston. A lot of times they'll say that one side is the victor and then the other side keeps the land or something. So we had a lot of Americans died. Yeah, this is looking like a loss. 452 was killed. 61 was killed. 61 of the Confederates were killed. 452. No, that was casualties. 22 killed. 50 wounded. 382 captured. So actually 40 Confederates were killed and 22 Americans were killed. But they captured a whole shit ton and wounded a couple more. But in terms of death, and it's actually right there on the tip of West Virginia, like right next to Virginia, almost up into Virginia, like all the way to the east side of West Virginia. West Virginia looks like this, so it's like right there on the tip. So it's not in the body, it's not up in this, first little peninsula. It's on the other second peninsula. It's on the thumb. It's on the thumb. It's on this side, right? So at dawn on the 18th, Union pickets south of Charlestown were driven back by Ibboden's advance. Okay, well, I definitely need to read this. Was there any kind of victory at all? They were captured, so that's pretty bad, haven't it? They marched 18 miles. Oh goodness, this is awful. So let's see if this Eisenhower meeting is any good. So Eisenhower and Omar Bradley, who is not the author of War's Arrest, Smedley Butler. Omar Bradley is not Smedley Butler. So Omar Bradley, October 18th, 1944. And then there's another guy that was there too. Don't forget about Bernard Montgomery. Bernard Montgomery was there. Hey guys, don't forget about me. I'm Bernard Montgomery. The Battle of the Bulge. Goodness gracious. Okay, so I got no information about the last 4 things. West Side Story. Okay, we can talk about West Side Story. West Side Story, but you forget that I'm in America. Da 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 da. Boy, silly boy. It's going to be released in 1961. So that's baby boomers. Baby boomers were born in 1961. It's a musical by Jerome Robbins, Leonard Bernstein, Stephen Sondheim, a book by Arthur Lawrence, inspired by William Shakespeare, Romeo and Juliet. It's set in the mid-1950s in Upper West Side Manhattan in New York City, then a multi-racial blue-collar neighborhood. You had the Sharks versus the Jets. They were Puerto Ricans, and then the Jets were white. Caucasians vie for dominance of the neighborhood. The police try to keep order. The young protagonist, Tony, a former member of the Jets and best friend of the gang's leader, Riff, falls in love with Maria, the sister of Bernardo, the leader of the Sharks. The dark themes, sophisticated music, extended dance scenes, tragic love story, and a focus on social problems marked a turning point in musical theater. I remember watching it, and I remember enjoying it, so I cannot remember much else. Boy, silly boy. So, a bunch of gangsters, right? A bunch of Carolyn gangsters. Boom, 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 boom. Tell me what you gonna say. There ain't nowhere to hide. Not Carolyn gangsters, but a bunch of singing gangsters, huh? Yo, 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 I'm a gangster. Yo, 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 I'm a jet. I'm a shark. Oh, shit. Well, that's not my gang. You better get out of here, but I'm in love with your sister. But you're from the opposite gang. You're not allowed to do that. Romeo and Juliet, they're going to kill each other right at the end. I don't remember if the two protagonists killed each other. It'd be fun to actually watch this damn thing again, to be honest with you. I watched it when I was younger. I enjoyed it. I don't know if I would like it today. There's a musical romance, West Side Story, that came out 2021. So they've redone it, and Rotten Tomatoes gives it a 91%. IMDb, however, says 7.1 out of 10. So you got the 1961 rendition and the 2021 rendition. Which one is better? I don't know. Steven Spielberg's West Side Story, is that what that's the new one is Steven Spielberg? It is. But then it says 64% like the movie. What the hell is going on here? What the hell is going on here? Do we want to hear some music? 1961, that was from a while ago. I think we'll get past, how long does it have to be before you can do it? See, West Side Story. Do I want to play any of this? I don't want to ruin the thing just because, hey, that's not your material. Oh, but you forget, I'm in America. Jets. Boy, silly boy. Alright. Azerbaijan Independence Day from the Soviet Union happened in 1991. The University of Heidelberg also opens. Why didn't I go with these things? The Fourth Battle of Kowanakajimi. Takeda Shingen defeats Iyusugi Kishin in climax of ongoing conflict. Roseanne, the TV comedy show, debuts in 1988 on this day. The Guggenheim Museum by Frank Gehry, inaugurated by King Juan Carlos I in Bilbao. That happened in 1997. Canute the Danish defeats the Saxons at the Battle of Ashingdon. That happened in 1016. Canute the Danish defeats the Saxons at the Battle of Ashingdon. That sounds even bigger. Walt Disney's The Jungle Book film is released in 1967. Alaska is bought by America, 1867. What the fuck? Every single one of these things is sounding better than what I had ended with. Well, there you go. October 18th. Some things to celebrate. You're like, hey, man, today is such a shitty day. No, there's some things that happened that was not so shitty.